Have you ever watched the person you love most in the world become a complete stranger right before your eyes? I saw it happen in the faint blue glow of a phone screen at 2 in the morning. My wife, Sarah, was asleep next to me, her breathing even, the picture of innocence. But her phone, which she'd started guarding like a state secret, had lit up on her nightstand. A single text message glowed on the lock screen, a name I didn't recognize, Marco. The message wasn't the problem. It was the 3 words that followed. He suspects nothing. My world didn't just crack. It silently imploded, leaving me floating in the cold, silent vacuum of betrayal. I knew right then, staring at that screen, that the man I was would have to die to make way for the man I needed to become. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The humiliation was a physical thing, a bitter acid that coated my throat. For weeks I'd been a joke in my own home. Sarah had become distant, her excuses for late nights at her marketing job in downtown Chicago becoming flimsier. Client dinner? She'd text hours after she was supposed to be home. I'd sit in our Lincoln Park apartment, the one I'd worked double shifts to afford, staring at the cold dinner I'd made. The strange behavior was a trail of breadcrumbs I was too blind with love to follow. Receipts from expensive restaurants I'd never been to, tucked away in her coat pockets. Phone calls she'd take on the balcony, her voice a low, secretive murmur against the city noise on Clark Street. She grew cold, then manipulative. When I'd ask about her day, she'd sigh, a long-suffering sound. You wouldn't get it, Mark. It's high pressure. She made me feel small, as if my questions were an anchor dragging her down. They felt untouchable. Her and this ghost named Marco? I'd see the smirk on her face when she'd look at her phone, a private little smile that wasn't for me. The emotional breakdown happened on a Tuesday. I found a hotel receipt from the peninsula, a place we could never afford, for a single night. I confronted her, my hands shaking as I held the paper. She didn't even flinch. She looked at me with cold, dead eyes and said, "Maybe if you were more of a man, I wouldn't need to look for excitement elsewhere." That's when the loyal husband died. I went into our home office and cried until I had nothing left. Then, a cold, hard clarity settled in. I wasn't going to get sad. I was going to get even. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who operated out of a dusty office in the Loop. He got me everything. Photos of Sarah and Marco leaving a restaurant in River North, his arms slung possessively around her. But the pie found the real gold. Marco wasn't just some smug suit. He was Marco Velez, a man with a record for financial fraud currently out on parole. His parole conditions were strict. No fraternizing with known felons, no large undeclared financial transactions, and a strict curfew. My plan began to form, a beautiful, terrible machine of legal and social traps. I started moving our joint assets into a private account. I documented every lie, every late night, every dollar she spent on him. The public exposure was set for our 10-year anniversary party. We'd booked a private room at Gibson's Bar and Steakhouse, filled with our friends, family, and her work colleagues, the people she'd spent years impressing. She stood there, radiant in a new dress I knew our money had paid for, giving a speech about our unbreakable bond. As she raised her glass to toast, the doors to the private room opened. I'd timed it perfectly. A man in a crisp, official-looking suit walked in. "Marco Velez," said, his voice cutting through the applause. Marco, who Sarah had brought as her colleague, froze. "I'm Officer Miller, your parole officer. We need to discuss several violations of your release terms." Sarah went completely rigid. Her face, a mask of triumph moments before, crumbled into pure horror. I had anonymously tipped Miller off, providing him with bank statements showing the thousands of dollars Sarah had funneled to Marco, and photos of them together long after his curfew. In front of everyone, Marco was handcuffed and escorted out. The room was silent, the air thick with scandal. Sarah's boss stared at her, his face a thundercloud. Her friends whispered, their eyes darting between her and the empty doorway. She was ruined. Her career, her social standing, all of it, incinerated in a single glorious moment. She turned to me, her eyes pleading, but she only saw the ruthless stranger she had created. The divorce was swift. Evidence was overwhelming. She got nothing. The last time I saw her, she was working as a waitress in a cheap diner off the highway. The arrogance gone, replaced by a hollow, haunted look. I still live in the apartment, but the city lights outside the window don't look the same. The end.